Salve rapaziada, Ibrahim aqui. Hoje o vídeo vai ser um pouco diferente, tá bom? Vai ser uma entrevista que eu fiz com o Zayori, o diretor de esportes do Axie Infinity, e eu não podia deixar de postar essa entrevista pra vocês, tá bom? Agora tá com tradução em português, tá bonitinho, e eu espero muito que vocês gostem e tirem máximo proveito dessa entrevista, porque vale muito a pena pra gente saber o futuro do NFT Gaming, futuro de Axie Infinity, né, que a gente gosta tanto. E é isso, espero que vocês curtam, me sigam nas redes sociais, inclusive o canal da Roxinha tá aqui, eu faço entrevista com diversos CEO de diversos games diferentes, então se você quer saber um pouco mais desse mundo de criptomoeda e investimento, tá no canal certo, valeu? Não esquece de deixar o seu like, se inscrever nesse canal e ativar o sininho. Sem mais delongas, bora pra entrevista. Thanks so much, one more time, I appreciate your time. How everything is going so far? Like super busy for you? Are you working a lot, having a lot of interview? Can you tell a little bit about, you know?
Yeah, so I'm a program lead of esports and content creators. We just hired our first employee in my team, so now we're a team of 2. Very exciting, the first step in scaling our little esports and creator empire. But no, it's good busy. I mean, the Axie universe is like, as you know, man, crypto, there's no trading hours. It's all 24/7. And our team, we've got the developers in Vietnam. You know, that's where our CEO is. But then Alex, he's in Norway. And Jeff, he's all over the place, sometimes in Asia, sometimes in North America. I'm usually in Colorado, but now I'm starting to travel a lot more. So, yeah, it's always on, and that's really cool, and that's part of what I love about it, because Dota was the same way, and that's just like kind of the esports vibe when you're talking about this giant international community. But it is very busy. There's a lot of inbound. There's a ton of requests to work for us. And one of the things that I think people have forgotten about with Axie is we didn't expect to grow this quickly.
Exactly.
And because we have 2 million daily active users, people often like to think that we're this polished, launched AAA game. And really, we're at the tip of the iceberg with our whole Axie universe. We're in alpha of like the second version of our battle system. You know, it was an auto battler originally, and then they kind of rebuilt it into this. And as we know, as we saw from the leak, like the next round of battles, the Origins version 2, as we've been calling it, that's right around the corner. So it's really exciting to think about, 6 months from now, 12 months from now, we'll be done some of these foundational like core launches. And then we can start talking about building like the really fun layers on top, like Axie Pro League and, these kind of competitive systems and that sort of stuff. So
yeah, I wanna talk a little bit about this later on. So I'm super excited about the future of Axie Infinity. It's just like, we just started, that's crazy. We just started, and I think people ask me, is it too late to enter in Axie Infinity? Bro, we haven't launched yet, we have we have a way future. So what do you think about like the future of Axie Infinity? Not talking about only about esports, but in general, like, a macro economy and everything about.
Totally. Yeah. So this is really exciting stuff to talk about. And, part of my job in a more senior role is balancing the day-to-day with the short term, with the midterm, and then still making sure we're on track to achieving the long term. And sometimes that long-term stuff, it's not obvious, right? It takes some crazy ideas, some crazy brainstorming, and then you distill that into something that's a little bit closer to reality. So in terms of where's Axie 5 years from now, where's Axie 10 years from now, things could get really wild. I signed on like 5 or 6 months ago. AXS was at $4. We had 40 or 50,000 daily active users. It was an exciting time for Axie, right? The metrics were good enough that when I checked it out, I went, all right, this seems legit. I believe in the growth. This looks like a pretty good job. Okay, I'm going to learn a lot.
When did you start? Sorry, when did you start working?
Like April of this year. Something.
Oh, April this year.
May.
Okay.
So like 5 or 6 months ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
But the deeper I went, the more I started to believe, and the more I started cashing out paychecks and just putting them directly back into the Axie universe.
Exactly.
Buying Axies and buying land and items and all this kind of stuff. So it's a weird feeling to go, hey, man, I'm pretty all in on Axie, and having the rest of my friends tell me, like, you're going to get paid in AXS for the foreseeable future. Why don't you, diversify a little bit? And every time that I've done that, I've looked back and just thought the best play would have been to just hold more Axie assets or continue holding AXS, I remember trying to explain it to my friends and family, and they asked, well, where do you think, what's your price estimation for the AXS token, since that's so important to your livelihood now? And I said, I think it could be at $40 or $50 in about a year. That was my target. I said, in 1 year.
When you said that was how long ago?
6 months ago. So it was like $4.
Oh my God.
So I was saying I think it'll 10x within a year. That was my prediction. And even that I thought was a little lofty, and people looked at me like, you think this thing's gonna 10x in a year?
What they say to you now?
You're crazy. Well, yeah, now it's like, obviously they're like, all right, you were right, man. You should have gone more all in. You shouldn't have listened to me. But it's weird when you can't tell, like, you already feel optimistic, and then a way more optimistic version of that comes true. It starts to push the boundaries of what you think are possible. Yeah. When I got signed on 6 months ago, they told me target is 250,000 daily active users. If we hit that, we're slaying it. So that's your target. Wow. And of course, we like killed that immediately, and we were at 1 million before August.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. I never, like, if they had told me we'd be at 2 million halfway through October, I wouldn't have believed it. I probably would have been less likely to take the job.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have felt like they were selling me bullshit.
Yeah.
So to see AXS now at like $120 or $130, 100, whatever it is, over $100 in 2021, that already exceeds my most optimistic expectation by like 10x. So things are moving fast, and like the demand is not slowing down. And one of the things I often like to point to is it's not easy to start playing Axie right now. Yeah, you have to get on the Ronin sidechain. You have to set up a wallet. You have to understand how to use the bridge to be able to cash out. And everyone wants to, oh, I can't buy Axies with AXS. That feels really weird. Like without the DEX, there's a lot of really weird pain points.
Yes.
And the fact that we're still seeing steady player growth, steady retention, that demand is still there. It varies in degrees, right? We're not growing as fast now as we were when SLP was at like 30 cents or something.
Yes, for
sure. But even in these dark times, the growth is still ahead of what most other games would be very happy with. So that is like incredibly bullish to me, because obviously our goal is to make it easier and easier to do stuff and reduce those pain points. And as there's more to do in the universe, it appeals to more gamers and all that kind of stuff. So
cool. I want to talk about what's going to be the next boom for Axie Infinity, you know, like, because we had the first boom was like when the SLP went up and everybody like, you know, trying to join, and like the media got some attention on the Axie Infinity. And I think now it's like getting down because of the price of the SLP. It was expensive to get on. And now we see like kind of like a lateralization of the number of the pairs. It's still the same, but it's not a boom. So I think probably a next boom would be when the land and the DEX plus the V2 is coming. So what's your thoughts about the next boom of like the, you know, increased population?
Yeah, I mean, I think all three of those are triggers for booms, right? Like they're all, those are our three next major releases that have really high expectations. So if we meet those expectations, absolutely. That's like the tinder to start the fire to hit like next levels. But in the short term, the big thing is this huge scaling update that we've been working on. The last boom, simply put, man, it broke our shit. Like as I was saying before, we never expected that much growth in our wildest dreams at that time. So the servers just weren't built to scale to that capacity that quickly. Part of a startup with technology is you generally do this smart up strategy where you start with code that's kind of an MVP. It gets you going. It scales with some users. You refactor certain parts that you know aren't very efficient. And then over time, once you get proof of concept, you invest more time with a larger development team to make it like enterprise level, you know, millions of users or tens of millions, hundreds of millions of users. That's what I mean when I say enterprise, because it's more expensive to build enterprise stuff and it takes longer. So you have to balance like, all right, well, we only want to build enterprise stuff that we know there's a really big demand for that people are going to use, because if we gamble and build it without an MVP, we might waste a lot of time and money on building something that people don't really want, and it doesn't matter that it scales to 100 million people. So that's like the forever conundrum of, emerging technology, at least before you're funded. Now it's a little bit easier since we, did the Series B.
So are you guys ready? Are you guys ready to the next boom in terms of server?
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah, we're almost there.
Okay.
So we had to shut off everything that basically wasn't mission critical. You have probably noticed that the challenge server is not available. So there's no ability to do tournaments like there was before. It's only on this silly private server that has, whitelist access. That wasn't by design. That was just after our ship broke, we popped up that little server so we could do some esports. And then, once we finish updating everything, it'll be restored on the main server. The idea is never to take features away. The only time we do that is when they don't work or they're being updated or, they're not going to scale. I would love to open up the esports server to every single scholarship that wants to run a tournament. But if I did, it would break and then nobody could run any tournaments. So that's the cycle we're stuck in right now. But we're almost done. That's the super exciting part. Like we're in the final stages of testing these major back-end updates. And that's part of why things have felt a little bit slow, because we've had to reallocate some resources to finishing these big like back-end updates. That it's like we're building a pyramid and we're still laying out the like basic square that's at the base of the pyramid, and that part is really not that fun, and you really want to start building up, but we got to finish the foundation first. So we're almost ready, and that's what we're making sure. Like we have some more marketing plans in store and some bigger esports stuff, but we've had to take it slow until we're ready.
Absolutely. We don't have to rush. I think things has to be like naturally and come in a way that everybody can play and enjoy without breaking servers or anything, any bugs. About competition, V1 and V2, that's something that we are discussing on my stream the next day. I don't remember when, but it was this week. We were talking about V1 and V2 speculations. So we want to know a little bit about, like, I don't know if you can talk about that, but what we know that Jiho said was V1 is going to coexist with the V2, right? But there is going to have like V1 championships, or, you guys going to put effort to still keep up with the V1, or only the V2 because V1 is going to die at the same, at some point?
It's a really good question. And some of it I know the answer to, and some of it we're going to wait and see based on feedback and just how things end up panning out. I think we feel like version 2 is a better game, and even if when we launch it, that's like the very first version, so we'll collect that feedback and we can always update it and tweak it and improve it and make it better over time.
Okay.
We think it's just like we took version 1 and took a lot of the stuff that made that great and then changed some things to make it better. That's really like the way we feel about it, and we hope and think that most of the audience will feel pretty similar once they get used to it. So they will both coexist, and we're gonna see how things go in that regard. We're definitely going to do some esports stuff for Origins to incentivize people to play it, because we want to see as much usage as possible so we can collect as much data as possible to balance it. I'm sure there will be a couple things that you genius players out there will realize or go, wow, this is really broken. If I stack Sakuras on every single one of my axes, they just get so much healing you can't kill them. I don't know. I'm just making something up. But so we definitely want to encourage people to play the new version. So the more data we have, the more quickly we can iterate and improve it. So they'll definitely both exist. I think, again, with the surprise growth, we didn't expect 2 million daily active users to be playing version 1 and enjoying its depth as much as they have been. I think when we started working on version 2, the idea was, well, maybe this game's not going to scale as well as we thought. It is pretty good, but maybe it's a little too hard. Maybe the general audience doesn't like this insane mind games, and it turns out people, for the most part, do kind of like it. There's other play-to-earn options, and still people enjoy the strategy of Axie. So we definitely want to capture that in version 2. And that's why it's taken so long to build, because we've gone through several rounds of testing to try to get it there.
So basically, you guys gonna see the response of the audience, right? If people like and enjoy so much V2, V1 basically is going to like not disappear, but like less attention and less update for V1 and V2?
Yeah, I think so. It's like it's interesting because they're different games, but they're not like totally different genres. You know, if you think about a Venn diagram, World of Warcraft and Halo, there's like no Venn diagram there. You know, they're just totally different gaming experiences. In this case, there's a pretty strong Venn diagram. You know, it's still card games. It's still 3 axes on each team. It's still, you know.
Question about the axie. Yeah, question about the axie. The axie is going to be the same? Like, for example, I have my 3 axes, right? And I know that's going to have another cards for eyes and ears, correct? For the V2. And they're going to be the same axis? Like, how it's going to be the, you know?
Yeah. So the idea, it's just like the concept of our balancing. You know, we understand that axes are investments, so we want to change them as little as possible.
Oh, okay.
But what's awesome about axes is the formula in which they exist, right? You breed them with all these different parts in different games in the Axie universe, right? Like, let's think a few years in the future, the Land SDK is out. There's all these different Axie mini games. Maybe one mini game, it gets really popular. It has its own little set of tournaments and esports system. So people really have a strong demand for Axies that are good for that game. And maybe in that game, it's like a racing game where the carrot is like a little boost, or
that's cool.
You know, so it could be completely different. So like right now, Axie doesn't feel like a universe because all you can do is collect, breed, you know, make some content, and then kind of play arena or adventure in the one game mode that exists.
Okay,
that's like 9 or 10% of the Axie universe as we see it. You know.
Yeah.
So that's what will drive demand for Axies of all sorts in the future, and that's why like we believe there's no such thing as a useless Axie, because even if there's an Axie that's got like Strawberry and Silence Whisper and Shiitake back, and you're like, what would I ever do with this thing? Hang on, you know, there might
and
be
then a mini game
in the future
exactly.
That crazy combo could be really good.
Yeah.
So I think we take that same approach with. Like with version 2 of Battles, we want it to feel like an evolution of version 1. So we want to try to keep the spirit of the cards that we've created. But as you saw from that leak, there's some new mechanics, right? There's like a bubble, and there's these like passive buffs. And, you know, I don't want to leak too much, but there's there's changes to some core mechanics that I think have made the gameplay a lot better. But we still want to try to hold true to the spirit of those Axie parts in terms of Axie battle. You know, I think for the Axie universe, we want there to be maybe a little bit of lore behind those parts as we develop it out, so there feels like there's some consistency, like Sirius will always be some sort of energy manipulation type thing.
I see what you mean.
You know, like Strawberry Head will always be some sort of healing support type thing, but what's its mechanic? How does it work? That has sort of a limitless ceiling of what you could experiment with. So we want to hold true to that spirit while expanding the gaming experience. And then in the future, it'll be open with the SDK for anybody to make games. So,
the idea of mini games is awesome. I really like. I haven't thought about that actually. So yeah, that's cool, man. Talked about it a little bit. So it's gonna be. The championship, you guys think about it global, or it's going to have like a South America, North America, Asia, you know, since you were like the director of esports, you guys going to do also academy for people that's to join, as League of Legends has, for example, you have the academy and then you join the pro league, right?
Yeah. So it's interesting you mentioned academy, because like that's one of the, we're really working with the new generation of esports here. You know, we have AXS and the play to earn model set up so that we have a lot of funding for tournaments already. You know, we're not reliant on sponsors, and there's less pressure for us to build a specifically esports ecosystem that's like really profitable for teams, because the foundation of having a scholarship or a guild in Axie is already a potentially profitable proposition, right? Investing in, like, look at the Indes scholarship where it's like a 50-50 split or a 55-45, but he gives them premium Axies, he gives them coaching, and it's like, we're here to kind of mentor people that really want to push and grind and get better. The fact that is profitable as a scholarship, and then you're basically, that is an academy right there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's a world where that can start to happen organically and just exist in the ecosystem and be a key part of it. And we can build the league on top of that people can participate in. In terms of specific regions, that's another really good question and another great aspect of what we're doing here. Like, we get to look at all the other esports and kind of pick and choose the things that have worked and haven't, and then build our own system that really works for us on top of our cool new decentralized sort of blockchain foundation. We don't do KYC, right? And KYC is short for Know Your Customer. So This is the idea of having to give us your ID or verify your identity before you make an Axie account. Right now you need an email. We're kind of global first. So that's like in the ethos of cryptocurrency and decentralization, right? Like, I don't care what country you're from. If you want to play Axie, get your email going, set up your Ronin wallet, you're playing Axie.
Yep.
In some places, it's harder to on-ramp than others and all this kind of stuff, but still, from our side, we don't do that. So a lot of our metrics, come from either our YouTube content or our Twitch content or our website traffic, because that has, analytics like Google and that kind of stuff on it. So we get to see some metrics, and we get to make some good estimates, and we can see the geolocation of some IP addresses and that kind of stuff. But generally speaking, I don't know that much about you specifically when I just look at your Ronin address.
Yeah.
So for esports, and that's atypical, right? Like, most centralized games are even region locked. Like League of Legends, you have to start grinding on Europe if you want to switch over there, or North America or whatever. So we're not going to force region locking for the sake of it by any stretch. I think what we're going to do is like time zone convenient type qualifiers. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, if you're in the Philippines and for some reason playing at 3 a.m. in the North American qualifier through whatever lag you have to play through to get there, I mean, more power to you, I guess. I don't think we're going to split hairs about trying to make sure, like, hey, this guy was in the Philippines and he won the South American qualifier. Like, that, that's not ideal necessarily, but to really draw those strict lines, and, that comes at an opportunity cost as well. So I think it'll be time zone convenience. We'll have like the Americas, for example. That'll be a whole vertical of qualifiers that'll run at prime time. We'll have like Europe and Africa kind of time zone where that all lines up, and then same for Asia. And I think that's how we'll start, and then go from there, and then kind of see how things evolve. So to me, that's the best balance across that spectrum of trying to make some things regional and have some locked in global representation as best we can, without adding like a KYC element that takes away from the broader mission of, decentralization.
Cool. Yep. I think you have a point, and that's all about, I think there's no with the blockchain decentralized, I think that's the the main thing. I agree with you. What about land? It's a little bit different than esports, but like my audience was super curious. I'm super curious to know a little bit about the land. Yeah. So do you have anything to leak for us, or any kind of like hint?
Well, the last dev update was actually pretty good. Jiho, of course, writes those, and he was very generous, I think, in pointing out some of the things that the land team has been working on, because you're not alone. Some of the latest art looks amazing. They've started upgrading the world, and what's really exciting about like version 2 of Battles and Land, I think, is that it looks more like a AAA game. I don't want to make it sound like our current game isn't good.
Oh, wow.
But it definitely feels very 2D and very very minimalist, let's say. And there's some advantages to that, but a big fan of this upgraded art style. And we did leak, I think, in the last dev chat, 4 months ago, there was a picture that we sent out of what some of that looks like, and I think it is pretty cool. Increasing the size of land plots to allow for more functionality, working on defining rules around inventory management, working on camera control so that you can move around the map and see what other people are doing, working on tech trees related to structures. I think the whole focus of Land in its first iteration is going to be on like construction and building out your plots, and resource collection. schematics, that kind of thing.
Cool, man.
I think that's going to be I think in the update before this, Jiho had posted, let me see if I can find it real quick, sort of a priority list that had popped up. And I think that made a lot of sense. Like the SDK, for example, the software development kit that'll allow people to make mini games, that will not be there at the launch of Land.
Oh, okay.
That's going to be like a quarter or two in the future afterwards. So yeah, here you go. He said these are kind of the 3 priorities in order.
Okay.
So number 1, crafting. Building structures, and harvesting resources. So the first launch of Land is going to focus on making those 3 things as cool and robust and interesting as possible. Number 2, an open amusement park-like experience that has multiple mini games. So this would be like the SDK, allow people to program like Flappy Axie or Axie Sushi. That was an old little racing game that somebody made.
Wow.
And then number 3 would be strategic battles between different armies for control of territory and resources.
So it's going to be GVG, like a guild versus...
I think so. Yeah. So of the 3, this one is the furthest away and the most like high level, right? We're not sure which way we're going to take it. We have to see how the other ones evolve a little bit. But this could look like some sort of collaborative raids. Like maybe there's a live event where some chimeras are invading and they're... taking resources from the ecosystem or something, and all the Axies have to, come in and band together and work to push back the PvE invasion. It could also be like a guild versus guild. A lot of players have expressed interest in trying to, strategically invade and take away resources from other players. Of course, that sounds really fun, but if you're on the receiving end of that, it's really not fun.
Yeah.
And in an economic game like Axie, you have to be careful not to. Whales already have a lot of power, so if somebody can just buy all the plots around you and then just suck all your resources,
that's true.
The game isn't fun. So that becomes a really hard thing to balance. But yeah, I think that's exactly, your head's in the right place. These guild versus guild collaborative sort of efforts. Cool. I like to think of raids and world bosses because I was a World of Warcraft player back in the day. But yeah,
this is a personal question. If I have a land, I can invite people to join my land, or like how?
Not sure. That's a good question. That's like something that we need to figure out exactly what guilds look like, and then what that kind of resource sharing looks like. Because I'm in a situation where I have a small estate. It's two plots in the forest that are touching a node. Both of them touch the node, so then they're connected. So there's 5 of us that all went in and split the cost of these 2 plots, and what does that look like for gameplay, right? A couple of the owners don't have Axies, but more than 2 of us do have a lot of Axies. And obviously we bought it with the idea of, well, hopefully this will appreciate. We'll be able to sell it maybe in a year or 2 and make a little bit of profit. We'll see. We'll vote on it. But in the meantime, if land gameplay comes out and we can harvest resources, well, we should definitely harvest resources, right? I mean, that's
exactly.
You're throwing away money if we don't do that. So what does that look like? And even in terms of holdings, there's 5 of us. I hold one of the plots, and then one of the other partners that paid a larger share holds the other plot. How can we collaborate, and can we share it? Can we simulate as if they're both in one person's inventory, or So yeah,
bro, this is way this is way difficult than I thought. Imagine, like, you have to think about a lot of, like,
Yeah, so
that's crazy.
It's all possible. There's a great foundation there, but it's like a blank canvas problem. You're a good artist, but you have infinite possibilities.
Yeah.
So like, what's your first line? Where do you start? That's like a really hard problem. So
it is.
We're making good progress, and the last glimpses of land I've seen have looked really cool and really promising. So it's coming along. We've been working on it for a long time. So.
I'm super excited. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't bought one, but I will. On one land. I think that's like super promising. And if you could tell in order, not the date, the launch, but in order of, like, it's gonna go. Now I saw that there is a token from the Run index, right? So I think it's going to, if you put it in a schedule, what's gonna be the order of the launch? Run V2, about the rebalance, both is and nerfs that's gonna happen in the season 19.
Yeah, so the season 19 is right around the corner. It's coming very soon.
Okay.
It's been delayed because we had to implement all the changes, and it just took a little longer than we thought. So that's right around the corner, and the changes will drop basically right as the season starts. That's how we've always done it. So
Okay.
that one is first up because it's already a little bit delayed. Sort of similar to the decks, as Psychout has said, the hardest part with these things is not even making it, but testing it and auditing and making sure it's totally foolproof. Because the worst part, I guess the worst case scenario with something like the decks isn't just when does it come out and how does it fit in the roadmap, but when it does come out, is it safe? And if somehow it goes down or gets hacked or has some issue, you have to make sure it's rock solid and completely tested. So the testing phase for something like this really does take a long time, and that's where we've been at with it. So it feels like the Dex has been so close for so long, but that one is right around the corner as well. I mean, that's, I think, this year kind of territory. The roadmap at axieinfinity.com is really good. It's whitepaper.axieinfinity.com/roadmap. End of this year, early next year is really when the AXS ecosystem should start to kick in. Like play to earn is partially the rewards that you see in the arena seasons, and then also ramping up some of the tournament stuff. So land gameplay, I think, is the latest of all that.
The latest,
Origins, okay. I don't know the exact timeline on Origins, but that one is also very close. Like there's going to be some sort of, let's call it a public beta, or a public alpha maybe is a better word for it, probably before land gameplay, I would imagine. Okay. So you'll probably see more about Origins before you do about land. And then, 2022 is much more focused on land. And then second half of 2022 is more like, land SDK and seeing what those mini games look like. So
that's cool, man. I mean, we are almost done with. I don't want to take so much time. Can I ask the two last questions, or that
sure,
it's okay
man,
for you?
For it.
Yeah, nice. So because a lot of viewers come to me, they for example, new players, right? So they come to me and say like, this is the right time to enter because it's gonna have a rebalance, it's gonna have a buffs and nerfs. Should I buy my axe right now? Should I wait for the V2? So there's a lot of questions, and the answer that I have is like, I have my axes. I play. I have my SOP, right? But for new players, if they buy right now because it's too cheap, there's like good things and bad things, right? If you buy right now, you have a really cheap axes because it's really cheap. When I started, it was like way too expensive. And if I buy right now and take like a nerf, probably the axie, for example, in my opinion, poison, right? I think that's broken. Like grass snake, and then he buy the axe with grass snake, and then the grass snake take like nerfs. So there's like, advantage and disadvantage. Like what would you say to someone that wants to buy?
I mean,
or enter?
I think you have to, once you enter, you realize it's a revolving door and there's no perfect entry point. So you have to accept some of that risk built into it, even without buffs and nerfs, right? Something that's really broken and really rare, it doesn't stay rare forever. People breed it, and then the more they breed it, the more that actually exists, and then the more people get it, and then the more it becomes prolific in games, the more people look for the counter, and then the more popular the counter becomes, and then that once really rare popular Axie is now bred out and countered, and it starts to flood the market, and the floor really drops. I picked up some mixed up Terminators that were still Terminators for like 0.07 a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, that's wild. That's really cheap relative to how good Terminators are in most lower to mid MMR, and compared to how rare and expensive they were at first. Like I remember when Terminators first started making their rise. Yeah. So you're never that's why we don't try. We try not to overcorrect and buff and nerf too regularly, because things do have a way of evolving and the meta starts to sort itself out. And we definitely don't believe that every combination has been found and that every broken Axie has been bred. Somebody's going to figure out the next Terminator that starts to break the meta and gets really popular, that kind of stuff. So I think I would say, just in general, you're still pretty early. Things are going to change a lot before or like with version 2 of battles anyway. and there's going to be sort of a midpoint where some people will still be playing version 1, some people really want to play version 2, and the Axie market is going to be in a really wild spot. And yeah, that's, I think, part of the excitement. That's part of this, as you got to remember, this is an alpha, so there is risk assumed with that. It's turbulent. We're still figuring some stuff out. Some things get figured out as they get tested in real time at scale with millions of users and, you know, the data we receive. So yeah, man, if you really want to play it safe, there are way safer things to do with your money for investments, even just in cryptocurrency.
Exactly.
Axie being the not even cutting edge, but the bleeding edge leader of GameFi and NFT games. We're kind of trailblazing. We might make a couple of mistakes along the way. Absolutely, this is an alpha game that has risk attached to it. So yeah. If that's too much for you, and you know, sometimes I think it gets taken out of context when we say Axie's not for everyone. That's often what we mean. Like, not forever. Like, you know, maybe come on back once we have some stuff stabilized and launched, and you know, the origin is here to stay, or whatever it is. But in the meantime, yeah, absolutely, it's not for the faint of heart. If you want to alpha test with us, let's do it. If not, then we understand. You know, yeah. No hard feelings.
Absolutely, I agree.
Keep us in your periphery. You know? Check back in. Yeah.
The last question that you talk about investing, and it's a personal question. If you weren't working with Axie Infinity, right? Like as a director, as like a player, normal, you know, person investing, how much would be the percentage of your portfolio for Axie AXS?
It's hard to say because you don't know what you don't know, and part of my like confidence in Axie is how deep I am in it, and I never would have put this time to research it so much in. Like, I would still be focusing on Dota or other stuff or whatever. So probably not a huge amount. It's similar to like the more time there. How do you say this? There's like a psychological phenomena that happens where, in a space where there's more things going on than nobody understands 100% of crypto, right? There's more coins, there's more blockchains than any of us have time to understand all the nuances of. So generally, the thing that you spend more time focused on is the thing you're going to be able to min-max better, you know? So like going deep in Axie, I can identify some like, oh, that's a good deal. Oh, that's a bad deal. Oh, wow, that 3-part Japanese I bought was a snipe. You know, you only can see that stuff when you're really deep in the system. You know, just like if you're really deep into Solana and you're doing NFTs and GameFi over there, there's money to be made, I'm sure. You know, if you really understand all of it and you're following all the projects, just like it's the same with NFTs, just on OpenSea or whatever, all these, you know, profile picture collections. If there's money to be made if you really are in the Discords and listening to the people and following the waves, just like you can with stocks, right? Look at AMC and GameStop and you know, Tesla and all these other tech stocks that move like crazy. You know, I'm 5x or something on AMD. So, you know, like it's not impossible to go 5 or 10x in the real world also outside of just crypto. It's hard to do that, though, unless you have specialist knowledge of reading the market or understanding the drivers or knowing what's going on. So it's a really hard question to answer, but I guess what I would say is the deeper I go, the more confident I become in Axie. And right
100%, man.
I've been closing out positions that I had on like other blockchains like Polygon and BSC to move it to Ronin for AXS staking and to buy, you know, collectors Axies like Origins and Japanese and Frosties, and then also just expand my scholarship. You know, I'm buying Axies for breeding so that we can onboard more scholars. We're at like 75 or something in 2 months. So, yeah, I'm very much, I wouldn't say I'm all in on Axie, but I'm betting very much on the Axie universe continuing to expand and explode. So I mean, I think people don't believe me because they think I'm just a biased shill, but I try to encourage people. My honest assessment is like, I don't know, I think AXS is looking pretty prime. Staking rewards are solid. You can see the tokenomics. You can see the patience and the way the token's been held and locked up over the last, 3 years since it's dropped and with its ICO. A lot of discipline there, and Delphi has helped a lot with that structure. And I think AXS is just a really well-designed token. I think the tokenomics check out, and when you dive deeper and see the utility of the universe and see that AXS will be integrated more and more with the universe, and that there's so much AXS locked up to be used for future rewards. Fuck, man, I don't know.
Yeah, that's so good.
Do
you invest in another game?
Yeah, I feel like a shill right now. Am I invested in other?
Yeah,
games?
like game file. Like, do you play another game?
Not really.
I promise I'm not gonna tell Jiho. I promise.
Diablo 2 Resurrected recently. That's been my main gaming time sink. So I'm still playing some nostalgic centralized games.
Okay,
style.
Not an FT. Okay.
I have 2 Voxies. I there's no gameplay for Voxy yet. I don't know if I'm actually going to play it, but I did pick up 2 of those. I have 1 Zed Run horse. I don't play it. It's just a cute little collectible. Pepper's Fogel, the Misty Rose horse. Look out. I think that's it. I have a little bit of art. I've collected a little bit of NFTs.
Art. Okay.
Cool. What else do I have in my OpenSea? Cool. I've got meta keys. I'm a key master. I have all 4 meta keys. So what's up? That's pretty cool, I guess.
Nice. I'm so
like that. Yeah, I like utility NFTs. I feel sad that I missed out on CyberKongs. I feel bad that I missed out on Supducks. Big fan of the Giraffe Gang. If there's one NFT collection I want to shill, it's that because Cloud White was tweeting about it yesterday. We had a little Twitter spat going on where I bought one of those derp. What are the seals? The sad seals or the derpy seals?
I heard about it. I'm not gonna remember.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I bought a seal that Cloud White's all about. And he bought a bunch of the giraffes. It's like the giraffe
I saw as well.
I can link it. Yeah, I like the giraffe one because those are made by a disabled artist who has like the whole point of that DAO is to support disabled artists.
Wow,
and
that's so nice.
Got in touch with them because I met in Iceland this quadriplegic artist who does mouth painting, and he's starting to get into NFTs, and he does some really cool work, mostly of like art and volcanoes and stuff like that, like very Icelandic. But he drew he did a digital art picture of me. Like he draws with his eyes with like eye tracking software. So pretty badass stuff. So he did a piece of me that I also have in my collection. But he introduced me to the Giraffe guys. Then the Giraffe guys hooked me up with like a custom giraffe where they put a little cigarette in its mouth and put a little kerchief on it. So dude, I got a show for the Giraffe dudes. I love NFTs that look cool, and I love NFTs that have a purpose, and when there's an intersection of that. And they've been struggling to market. I feel bad. The disabled artists people don't know. People, I think, feel a little uncomfortable, like just chatting with them or making jokes with them, or that they just don't know. It's like they think it's cool, but they don't know what to say, so they just don't say anything.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to show for them a little bit because I think they just have a really cool project. So
that's cool. I'm so into NFT now, and now that I saw that Facebook invested like $50 million on Metaverse. I don't know if you heard about that, but it's going to be like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. Anyways, thank you so much for your time. I don't want to take more of your time. Melancia, do you want to say something? Quer falar alguma coisa? Give me just a moment. Oh, thank you, man. I got it. Melancia tá aí?
Link to the giraffes.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out this. But thank you so much. I appreciate that. My audience is like freaking out. Thank you so much, Andrew. Do you like Zayuri or Andrew?
I'm flexible. I'm really not too picky with it these days. So whatever makes you more comfortable. Just
thank
like
you, man.
pronouns.
Thank you so much.
I
appreciate that. The community. The community, Brazilian community, is so huge. We love so much you guys from Axie Infinity. I saw that Jiho is gonna, he's gonna be here, right, in LA.
Yes, I'm here.
I think so. Yeah, he's been all over the place. He's hard to keep up with. But
shut up.
Words for.
I think you have it right.
Sorry. So he's gonna be here, and I talked to him, and he started following me on Twitter, and he did a handshake, right? So on my Twitch that I saw, it's like, hey, I'm gonna be here. I'm a content creator in Brazil, blah blah. And he's like, did the handshake and started following me on Twitter, and I'm like, I want to talk to you, and I talk to you. I don't know when you guys come in LA. I mean, my house is your house. Like let's hang out or you do some content. I don't know. I just want to be close to you guys.
Yeah, no, you're plugged in. I mean, that's kind of the point that we're at. We're still working on scaling everything. So in the meantime, the least we can do is, give you a little bit of our attention.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so my social medias are, I don't know, that's like, if you wanna, you know, keep it in touch.
Yeah, let me see here. I'll find it.
Yeah.
There.
I'm a really like, I would say like I'm a really nice point for you guys to connect with the Brazilian community. Not only me, but there's other streamers that I love. The community as a streamer, they're so nice. We are really close. There is no like fight or anything like that. We just try to help each other. So thank you so much for your time. Thanks so much for the interview. Yep. I mean, we love you.
Right. Cool. Thanks. Likewise, man. Keep it going. Vamos Brazil. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Portuguese has been taking over on Twitch. It's been a pleasure to see. And yeah, keep up the good work, man. Really appreciate
it. So say obrigado is thank you in Portuguese. Obrigado. Obrigado.
Obrigado.
Yeah, perfect, man. Thank you.
I can even roll my R's. Look at that.
Cruz. Tchau.